On January 30th, 2026, Buckingham Palace broke its silence about a piece of royal private property. The statement was short, but explosive. Lady Louise Windsor, the 22-year-old granddaughter of Queen Elizabeth II, had inherited a secret Scottish estate few people even knew existed. The Grey House, a property so private that even senior royals had never stepped inside. And here's where it turned tense. Reports claimed Queen Camilla and members of the Parker Bowles family had been trying to secure that estate before the announcement. They had surveyors, they had legal consultations, and they lost. So what is the Grey House? For over 70 years, it operated quietly in the background. No public photos, no press visits. The estate sits on rugged Cairngorm land in the Scottish Highlands, isolated and deliberately low profile. This wasn't a ceremonial residence, it was Queen Elizabeth's personal retreat. Purchased in 1952 through a private holding company, the deed carried no royal title. It was structured to remain outside formal crown control from the beginning, and according to former staff, the Queen would retreat there for short periods, reviewing official papers but otherwise keeping to herself. No events, no publicity, just privacy. And notably, King Charles reportedly never formed a connection to the property. That became important, because when Camilla allegedly explored options around the estate, Charles had no personal stake in defending it. It had never been his. But what makes the Grey House significant isn't just location, it's content. Sources say Queen Elizabeth stored deeply personal materials there. Letters, photographs, private recordings, items never entered into official royal archives, personal reflections, correspondence with global figures, even recorded messages intended for family milestones. One palace insider described it simply, "There's no scandal, just memory." Under private deed protections, materials stored outside official royal archives cannot be claimed by the crown or a successor. They belong solely to the named beneficiary. In this case, Lady Louise Windsor. That means Louise now controls access to a portion of Queen Elizabeth's private legacy that no monarch can override. And that's major. At just 22, she became gatekeeper to materials historians and senior royals cannot access without her consent. How did that happen? The answer traces back to a relationship many overlooked. Between 2019 and 2021, Louise spent extended time at Balmoral with her grandmother. While others visited briefly, Louise stayed longer. She joined morning walks, spent time reading in private libraries, helped sort papers that never entered official records. One former lady-in-waiting said, "She just was present. No performance, no competition, just consistency." In October 2021, Queen Elizabeth signed a separate legal instrument, a conditional personal legacy deed tied specifically to the Grey House. It was structured outside the main estate framework, and it ensured the property would transfer under private terms, beyond crown review. That document changed everything. Third, and this part stunned insiders, Queen Camilla, her children, and their direct descendants were explicitly excluded from access. Royal legal staff quietly referred to it as Clause 31. Only 4 people reportedly knew it existed: the Queen's personal solicitor, Princess Anne, her longtime archivist, and Prince Edward, all sworn to secrecy, all kept silent. Now here's where things get tense. According to internal sources, Camilla began discreet inquiries about the Grey House in late 2024. She didn't ask directly. Instead, she questioned whether any royal assets had been left outside duchy estate declarations. Strategic move. Because she understood something important. Her role would never carry the same institutional weight as Elizabeth's. If she wanted lasting influence, she needed legacy, she needed property, she needed symbolism. In January 2026, during a private audience at Birkhall, King Charles's Scottish residence, Camilla reportedly proposed that the Grey House be placed under joint royal stewardship, managed by the Crown, connected to charitable foundations, presented as preservation. The pitch sounded refined: Highland restoration projects, literary retreats, conservation initiatives, invitation-only heritage tourism. On the surface, it looked elegant, but insiders say it went deeper. Control of the Grey House would mean proximity to Balmoral, influence over historically sensitive archives, and perhaps most importantly, attaching the Parker Bowles name to one of Queen Elizabeth's most personal sanctuaries. One official reportedly said she wasn't asking for a cottage, she was asking for geography, legacy, and leverage. And here's the part that raised eyebrows. Camilla had allegedly sent surveyors to the region weeks before making the formal proposal. Under the banner of environmental evaluation, architectural consultants had already drafted restoration budgets. That wasn't curiosity, that was preparation. Tourism specialists explored boutique-level heritage programming. To anyone who understands palace strategy, the direction was unmistakable. This wasn't casual curiosity, this was coordinated movement. King Charles didn't reject the idea publicly. Instead, he did something far more calculated. He stalled. Meetings were postponed. Legal counsel was consulted.
I've been actually trying to keep quiet about reaching 3/4 of a century.
The Royal Estate Council reviewed ownership structures untouched since the 1950s. Then, during a closed session on January 12th, attended only by the king, his private secretary, and 2 constitutional advisors. Charles delivered a quiet but firm line. The estate was not available for reassignment. Not now, not ever. But here's what stood out. He didn't reference his mother's wishes. He didn't mention Prince Edward. He didn't say Lady Louise's name. Instead, he framed the refusal as a pre-existing private settlement beyond Crown review. The tone was calm, controlled, final. Camilla reportedly left composed, but insiders say she was shaken, because by then she suspected something bigger was coming. 3 days later, the palace confirmed it. The Grey House had been left outright to Lady Louise Windsor, not to Edward, not to a family trust, not to royal administrators, to Louise, alone. The late Queen's private will, sealed in October 2021, named her youngest Wessex granddaughter as sole and unrestricted owner. That included the buildings, land titles, archives, staff contracts, and a perpetual right to refuse public access. One circulating clause reportedly stated, "This house is to remain a refuge, not a monument." The structure of the bequest raised eyebrows. The estate bypassed Edward and flowed directly to his daughter. To some, it looked like unmistakable favoritism. To others who knew Elizabeth best, it felt entirely on brand. Deliberate, protective, unapologetic. For the Parker Bowles circle, the news landed hard. Business ideas tied to Highland partnerships had quietly been explored. Advisors had researched zoning regulations near the Grey House months earlier. Then, it vanished. Shock turned to disbelief. Disbelief turned to frustration. Lawyers were consulted, only to confirm the will was airtight. The line had been drawn, and they were outside it. At the center of it all stood Camilla, forced to accept that one of Elizabeth's most personal sanctuaries would never carry her influence. But here's the twist. Louise had been preparing in silence for nearly a year. Since mid-2025, she had reportedly been visiting the Grey House privately. Local residents near Glenmore Village noticed a young woman arriving in plain clothing, accompanied by discreet security. She stayed for days at a time. Locals were told she was part of a university research team studying geographic history. In reality, she was being trained. 2 former archivists and a royal legal advisor worked with her on cataloging primary sources, managing estate staff, and understanding private title succession. She wasn't treating this like a gift. She treated it like responsibility. A retired archivist reportedly said she knew this was stewardship from day one. And when the inheritance was activated, it happened quietly. No press event, no ceremony, no dramatic reveal. A single line in a government land registry was updated. Then, on January 25th, Buckingham Palace issued a short confirmation statement. That was it. Royal observers now call it a strategic masterstroke. The Grey House remains private property, but the implications run deep. Lady Louise is no longer just the quiet granddaughter. She is now a legal keeper of royal memory, holding materials no museum or monarch can access without her consent. And in that one powerful dimension, legacy, she now stands on her own ground. Louise didn't walk into this alone. She had 3 powerful allies working behind the scenes to make sure the transfer went through without interference. First, Princess Anne. The Princess Royal wasn't just quietly supportive. According to internal royal memos, she acted as executor of the transfer. Anne ensured the staff at the Grey House remained under private payroll through the Royal Heritage Trust, not the Crown Estate. That detail mattered. She personally delivered the key to Louise in a sealed envelope during a private writing retreat in Scotland. And when Camilla reportedly attempted to challenge the inheritance through the Privy Purse legal office, Anne shut it down with one sharp line. You do not challenge the last wish of the sovereign. You honor it. Second, Duchess Sophie, Louise's mother. Instead of engaging publicly, Sophie moved strategically behind the scenes. She blocked attempts at a legal audit of Louise's personal finances. She worked to prevent media leaks about the estate's location. She also ensured Louise received private intelligence briefings about potential surveillance efforts around the property. Yes, surveillance. Cybersecurity experts hired through the Duke of Edinburgh's office reportedly detected attempts in late 2025 to drone scan the roofline and place remote trail cameras near the northern tree line. None succeeded. Security was tightened. Access points were monitored. Preparations had already been made. Third, and most crucial, Prince Edward. In November 2025, just before the inheritance became public record, Camilla reportedly asked Edward to delay the filing. The request was framed around family unity and cooling tensions. Edward refused. According to insiders, his response was simple and final. My daughter will not be a placeholder for your ambitions. That was the moment the last resistance collapsed. The deed was transferred, the inheritance finalized, and for the first time since Elizabeth's passing, Camilla had no leverage left in this matter. Then came the quiet but symbolic shift. On a January afternoon, Lady Louise walked through the gates of a small Highland chapel near the Grey House. No entourage, no spectacle, but one detail stood out, a brooch never seen publicly before. Royal historians quickly noticed its design, silver thistle intertwined with Tudor roses, centered by a small diamond heart in Edwardian style. Engraved underneath were the words, "For service, not spectacle." That phrase had reportedly appeared in private correspondence used by Queen Elizabeth II with only a handful of close family members.
A symbol of selfless duty and ultimate sacrifice.
The message was subtle, but powerful. During what was meant to be a small local charity appearance, Louise delivered a short speech that quickly spread online. "The house I inherited is not a trophy. I do not claim it because of my name, but because of what I learned from those who came before me. Quiet loyalty, private strength, faith that protects, not performs." She continued, "I will not allow its memory to be reshaped for convenience." Afterward, she bowed, not to cameras, but toward a plaque behind the altar bearing a quote from Queen Elizabeth II's first Christmas broadcast. "It is not the crown that grants duty. It is duty that gives meaning to the crown." Within hours, the palace released a brief statement, not from the king, but from Princess Anne. Lady Louise speaks not as a future monarch, but as a guardian of moral authority. Her voice is her own. Behind closed doors, meetings followed. King Charles reportedly cleared his schedule for private discussions at Balmoral. Camilla was later photographed returning to Clarence's house, appearing composed but visibly tense. The shift was quiet, but it was unmistakable. She was reportedly caught off guard by the timing and felt blindsided by the lack of advance notice. One insider claimed she thought the family had closed ranks, but instead, they rallied around Louise. The tabloids exploded. Windsor's silent flame ignites a new era. Louise's Grey House speech, a crownless coronation. Camilla outmaneuvered, but one reaction stood out. Princess Catherine didn't issue a formal statement. Instead, her official Instagram posted a single image, a handwritten note in elegant script signed simply, "C." It read, "Legacy is not what we receive, it's what we choose to preserve." Tagged, #GRHouse and #WindsorDuty. Within 20 minutes, it passed 2 million likes. Sources at St. James's Palace said Louise's speech triggered an urgent review meeting within the Royal Continuity Office, the team that monitors succession optics and legacy alignment. Their concern: public momentum was building around Louise in a way that operated completely outside Camilla's influence. Some even wondered whether it subtly shifted attention away from Prince William's future role. But insiders say William wasn't threatened. In fact, he reportedly approved Catherine's post himself and told her, "She's doing what we were raised to do." Then came Camilla's countermove. Within 72 hours, her office announced a major exhibition titled The Crown's Compassion, A Life in Modern Royal Service, set to debut at St. George's Hall. The timing raised eyebrows. The announcement came just 30 minutes after the Royal Collection Trust confirmed Louise's archival collaboration with Princess Anne, titled The Quiet Years. Even the venue choice carried weight. St. George's Hall was one of Queen Elizabeth II's most significant ceremonial spaces. Now it was being repositioned. According to aides, Camilla stated, "The public needs reminding that loyalty is not measured in silence. I have served with or without approval." But the reaction was restrained. Princess Anne declined comment at a naval charity event. When pressed, she reportedly said with a tight smile, "Some stories write themselves." Then came a signal few missed. King Charles delayed his attendance at Camilla's exhibition launch by a full day, citing a Balmoral health briefing. Only a small group of secondary royals attended the opening. Observers read it clearly. The exhibition opened to mixed reviews. Critics noted the heavy focus on Camilla's personal imagery and captions centered on her own journey beside the sovereign. One royal commentator described it as less a tribute to service and more a personal scrapbook. Online, the backlash sharpened. #GreyHouse. Overglamour began trending. Then Catherine posted again, this time showing Louise, Princess Anne, and staff sorting archival boxes. Caption, "Work not display, duty not decoration." Over 3 million interactions in less than 24 hours. And then came the confrontation. On January 26th, in Windsor Castle's Long Gallery, Camilla and Princess Anne reportedly faced off in what staff later described as a glass chandelier moment. Witnesses say Camilla accused Anne of undermining her public role and placing undue pressure on a young family member. Anne remained calm. According to accounts, she replied evenly, "If the spotlight finds her, it's because the public recognizes authenticity." When Camilla argued that Louise was never meant to be a working royal, Anne's response reportedly carried weight. And the room went very still. According to those nearby, Princess Anne's final line landed hard. "Neither were you. And yet here we are." Here is your passage with approximately 200 words removed, tightened while keeping the core flow and impact. Camilla reportedly left the room without another word. The silence that followed was described as heavy. Days later, her exhibition was quietly shut down, citing space reallocation. No farewell statement. Instead, the royal family's website updated its banner. The Quiet Years, a reflection on unseen service. Opening Spring, 2026, curated by Lady Louise Windsor and HRH Princess Anne. Beneath it, a quote from Queen Elizabeth II. "What is remembered with dignity endures longer than what is displayed for applause." That was the shift. By early February, headlines began calling her the Queen's heir in spirit. A BBC poll showed 71% of Britons believed Lady Louise should receive a formal title if she chose public duties. In Scotland, support reached 84%. Then came the offer. On February 7th, Buckingham Palace confirmed King Charles III had offered her elevation to HRH Princess Louise, with roles in youth education and cultural heritage. But it came with conditions: London residence, full security protocol, and the end of private work, including her equestrian coaching. The household was divided. Then the tension crossed the Atlantic. On February 8th, Meghan Markle appeared on a US talk show and remarked, "When people are elevated based on silence rather than service, we must ask what values are being rewarded." No names were mentioned, but social media reacted fast. In response, Princess Anne and Prince Edward issued a joint statement. Lady Louise Windsor has neither asked for a throne nor a stage. She has only ever accepted responsibility when others discarded it. On February 10th, standing outside the Grey House in Highland Snow, Louise announced the Grey House Initiative, a trust focused on ethical leadership and heritage protection. When asked if she would accept the HRH title, she paused. "I am grateful for my family's trust, but I believe duty does not require a title. For now, I remain simply Lady Louise." By mid-February, it was clear something had shifted. She had declined elevation, but earned respect. Without a crown, people began calling her something else: the Guardian of the Grey House. Because sometimes real power isn't loud, it's steady, it's disciplined, it's dignified. And if you want more deep dives into royal power moves and palace strategy, subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts below. See you in the next one.